Extracting sales order data from SAP R/3 system into SAP BW 7.3 using generic data sources. First, you need to follow certain steps in R/3 system side. Let's check it out. What are the steps we need to follow? First, you need to enter RSO2, give the data source name in transactional data field, click on create, and you need to specify the application component name by clicking on browse and choose, or you can directly press F4. In our example, we are selecting sales and distribution, that is your SD. Then enter some description. In extraction from DB view, give the table of view name from which you want to extract the data. Then click on a save. Then select or hide the required fields as per your requirement. Then go to transaction code RSA6 to know if the data source is successfully activated. Only the successfully activated data sources are available or will be displayed in RSA6. Once you've done all the steps, then we need to follow certain steps in a BW system side as well. Let's check it out. First thing, you need to check your RFC connection is successfully connected or not. Then go to RSA1 transaction code, right click on your sales and distribution tree, select replicate, or you can enter the transaction code RSDS by entering the data source name. Only you can replicate a particular data source rather than replicating all the data sources. Then click on activate. Then create info package on the data source, go to schedule and click on start. Click on monitor icon to check the data in a PSA. Then go to info provider, right click on your info area, select create info cube, rename the dimension table as a transaction which we hold all the primary keys. In our example, VBELN, the sales document number, is the primary key. We need to add at least one key figure in the info cube. So let's add net WR_2 as a key figure. Then create DTP on info cube. Extraction mode, select full. Save and activate your DTP. Click on execute on your execution tab. Right click on info cube, select manage. Select the info cube contents to see the output data. So these are the steps which you need to follow to extract your sales order data from your SAP R/3 system into your SAP BW 7.3. Let's start it. On your R/3 system, that's your ECC system, the first transaction code which you need to enter RSO2, press enter. You need to type some transaction data source name. This is your generic data source which you're creating here. Let's create some meaningful data source name here. Let's create, I'm loading, right? So extract transaction data. Click on create. This is the application component which we need to select by clicking on choose and browse. Expand your SAP R/3 and select your SD, or you can directly press F4. It will display the same window where you can select your application component, enter the some description, extract transaction data. Under extraction from DB view, we need to enter the view or table name from where we are extracting the data. What is our table name? VBAK, right? So let's save this. Click on save. it will ask you to select your package name. If you have created a package earlier, it will automatically display here. Press enter, save it. Then it will take you to the request number screen. This is your workbench request. Click on continue. It will take you to your customer exit, customer version edit screen, where you need to select what are the fields you need to be displayed in your data source. So depends on your requirement, you can go ahead and select the fields, or you can hide the fields which is already been selected. Depends on your requirement, right? Once you done this part, click on save. It will come back to the previous screen where you can observe your extract structure has been created with a technical name, right? So now we have successfully created the generic data source here. Now go back. Let's check it out whether the data source is activated or not by entering the transaction code RSA6. Press enter. Expand your SAP R by 3 and SD. Look for your data source which you created now. This is my data source, ext transaction data, right? So it's successfully activated. Now it's available. Now we have completed the steps in R by 3 side. Let's go to the BW system side. What are the steps we need to follow? Open your BW system. What are the first thing you need to check it out? The RFC connection. Enter the transaction code RSA13. Press enter. It will take to your source systems. My source system by ECC client. Right click on it. Click on check. The source system connection is okay. Now you can double click on your source system connection. It will take to your application component. Our application component is sales and distribution. So you can right click on it and say replicate metadata. It will replicate all the data sources available in the particular application component. Or in case if you want to replicate only a particular data source, individual data source, then what you have to do, you need to do the transaction code RSDS. Press enter and let's check it out. What is our data source name? What is the data source name? We enter, copy this, go back, paste it here and select your source system is your ECC client. Click on data source menu, select replicate data source. It will replicate only this particular data source. Wait for some time, you will get the pop-up screen. You need to replicate data source as a data source. Continue. It will show you the data source was replicated successfully. Now go back. Check it out whether your data source is available or not by double clicking on your system. You can check it out. See, this is my data source. This is available here, right? So once it is created successfully or replicated successfully, you need to double click on it, open it. It shows that active version does not exist. So click on change icon. Okay, now it is under processing. Click on activate. Now we are activating our data source after replication. Okay, now you can check it out. Our data source is activated. Data source activated successfully. Now it is available under active version. Click on back. Okay, so what is the next step? We need to create the info package. Right click on your data source, select create info package. Okay, so enter a description here. Okay, select your data source, click on save. Okay, here you have an option to restrict how many documents it has to be extract. So we can restrict the data under data selection, which has to be fetch the data. Let's do something here. Enter some value here. I'm entering here 0 0 0 0 0 5 zeros 4969. Okay, so enter. It's supposed to be 6 4969. Then two value 1 2 3 4 5 6 4998. Okay, now let's move to the schedule tab. Click on start. You can check it out, the data was requested here. Okay, now check it out, the data available in a PSA or not. Click on your monitor icon. You can check it out, it has not fetched the data. It shows that 0 records because still the request has not completed. Click on refresh. Wait for some time. You need to wait for some time till you get this request into the green successful, right? So you can check it out, it's 29 records. Again click on refresh. Okay, so it's successful. How many records we got? 29 records. Why? Because we have given the restriction for the data 4969 to 4998, right? So it is taking only 29 records. Click on PSA maintenance. Okay, so it will display your data. This is my data here, 29 records. This is my sales document number. Okay, so now the data is available under PSA. Now what is the next step? We need to build the target system, right? Go back, go back, go back, say yes. So to create your info queue as a data target, we need to go to your info provider. Under info area, your particular info area, right click and say create info queue. Enter your info queue technical name. I'm creating a standard info queue, say transaction data. Enter a technical name, then enter the description. Standard info queue for extracting transaction data from R/3. Press enter. It will select as a namespace as a customer generated. Press enter. You can check it out here. Then click on create. Switch on your navigation, so it will display your info cube only. So what is the next step here? We need to rename the dimension as a transaction. Right click on it, select properties, rename it as a transaction, press enter. Okay, so what is the data it's hold? We are going to keep the primary key. What is the primary key for us? According to our example, the primary key is VBELN. Right click on it, say info offset direct input, enter VBELN, press enter. Browse and choose. Find out. You can select here. You can find out by using sales doc, press enter. Check it out where it will display. It doesn't display here, go back, remove it, sales doc, press enter. It's supposed to be sales underscore doc. Say okay. So we haven't created the info object here, that's the reason it's not displaying. Let's create that info object first. So we need to go back to your modeling. Select your info objects. This is my info area. I have info object catalog here. Let's create one info object catalog for characteristics. There is a two options are available here. Either you can install the business contents by selecting which fields you want to install it, going to your business contents, or the other option I'm going to show you here, you can create the info objects manually where it holds the data for your info cube. So these are the two options are available. So you can go to the business contents and you can select what are the fields it's required for your info cube. You can install them, or you can create the fields, info objects manually, and you can use it in your info cube. Okay, so I'm using a second option here. I'm creating a key figure. My key figure is going to be here net wr underscore 2. Okay, this is a, let's enter sales document, press enter. This is my info cube. I'm creating info object catalog for key figure. Let's create it first. I'm sorry for that. Info object catalog for the key figure 2. This is key figure info object catalog for test 2. Okay, let's create info object catalog first, then we can create the key figure here. Activate. Go back. This is my key figure info object catalog. Let's create info object net wr underscore 2. This is a sales document. Press enter. Okay, so this is going to be amount. You can use your fixed currency, or you can use fixed or variable here. So this is going to be currency, 0 currency. Press enter. This currency key, then activate it. Now go back. Let's create a characteristics key figure, that is a sales document number, sales underscore doc, that is your sales document. Press enter. Give some length here, say 10. Activate. These are the info objects I'm going to use for my info cube. Okay, so your info objects are activated successfully. Now go back to your info cube. Okay, now you can input your info object, that is your sales document number. Okay, say okay. Select your key figure, info object direct input, net wr underscore 2. This is my info object key figure. Okay, you got the key figure, you got the sales. So once it is done successfully, then go ahead and activate your info cube. Okay, your info cube is successfully activated. Go back. Now what is the next step? We need to create the DTP for this. Right click on your info cube, select create data transfer process. It's going to ask you what is the data transfer process here and what is the data source. You're going to select it here. So before creating the DTP, we need to create the transformation. Let's cancel this option. Right click on your info cube, say create a transformation and select your data source. What is the data source we have created? This is my data source name and your source system. Say OK. So your transformation has been created here. Now let's map the fields, sales document to sales doc. Okay, and your net VR, this is your net value. Go top to net VR. Okay, activate it. You can select any number of the fields, info objects. You can create any number of info objects. You can activate, depends on your requirement. As per our example, we have taken only for the sample purpose 2 info objects here. It depends on your info in your requirement. You can select more. Okay, so this is our transformation which has been created here. Okay, it's created successfully and activated also. This is the active version. Go back. Now let's create a DTP. Okay, once you select the DTP, so you have a multiple options to create the DTP here. You can right click on your info cube and say DTP, create DTP process, or you can right click on your data source, say create data transfer process, or you can right click on your data transfer process folder, say create data transfer. You have many options are available. Okay, so I'm selecting here the data source, right click, say create data transfer process and enter the data transfer process, the description. What is my target object? Info cube. And what is the name of my info cube? SIC_TD. Click on continue. Under extraction tab, extraction mode, select full and go to the execute tab. Activate your DTP. Once your execute button is activated, click on execute. Select yes. Refresh. Show successful. Click on your administer data target. Select your info cube. Click on contents. Before this you can check it out. 29 transfer and 29 records added here. Select field selection for output. Okay. Execute. So now the data is available under my info cube. So what are the fields I have selected? Info objects. I have selected sales document number, net value. So I got 29 records and their values. From where? 4969 to 4998. So this is how you extract the sales order data from your SAP R/3 system into SAP BW 7.3 using generic data source.